if you'd like something to wet your whistle. But I need you to really put yourself in an unobstructed environment right now. That means, disconnect your TV in the background. If there's a dishwasher running or something like that, go ahead and just shut it off. Just turn it off. The dishes will get done. If you've got a, noisy fan, or like I said, you have to go to the bathroom, or something that you really need to be comfortable, maybe your special pair of slippers, or maybe you need the lights toned down dark, go ahead and take a few moments to set your environment. This is very important. And for those of you who have the environment set, when your environment is ready, when your headphones are on, and you're ready to begin the experiment, I'd like you to just put a 1 in the chat room. And then I want you to disassociate from the chat and continue to listen to the broadcast. And just that, what your 1 will indicate to me that you are now in that ready stage of this experiment. And you're ready to take this post-hypnotic suggestion to help us through this lucid dream experience. Headphones in and ready 1, says Josh. Josh, go ahead and just close your eyes and listen to the sound of my voice for the next few moments as we begin to wait for the rest of the audience who are perhaps going to the bathroom. 42 James is ready. Close your eyes, James. Headphones are not a requirement, Z Rabbit. If you don't have headphones, just make sure the volume is turned up to a comfortable level. Just relax, lay back. Moneybags 1 is ready. Mike Johnson is ready. The Rippin' Rabbit is ready. Now, with your eyes closed, taking a deep breath in, I just want you to hold it. Hold it for the next few seconds as you listen to the sound of my voice, because I'm going to explain an instruction that I want you to do. I want you to take the 4 fingers on your right hand, and I want you to put your left hand up, and I want you to tap the side of your left hand with your 4 fingers. Earth Daughter is ready. Take that deep breath. JoJo's is ready. Take that deep breath. My Life is ready. Take that deep breath. As you're listening to the sound of my voice, tapping the inner side of your left hand palm. Now switch hands and do the same on your right. Put your feet flat on the floor as you continue to tap and listen to the sound of my voice. Sharon is ready, the fam. Take another deep breath in and slowly let it out. Now let your hands fall to your knees. Just relax and continue your breathing. Be perfectly aware of all of the surroundings around you. You're aware of the room that you're in. You're aware of the seat that you're sitting in. Perhaps if you're in your bed, you're aware of your environment as you listen to the rest of the broadcast. Deep breath in and out, and create that pattern, and imagine yourself up late at night, watching a YouTube video, watching perhaps a movie or a series on Netflix, listening to the sound of my voice, relaxing your mind, preparing for sleep. Now, at no time during this broadcast will you fall asleep. You will always be aware of everything that goes on around you. You'll always be aware of the words that are coming out of my mouth. And you'll be aware of this broadcast. And we will come back to a normal state of consciousness once this experiment has finished. For the next few moments, I just want you to breathe deep. Relax and just listen to the sounds of this experiment.
Many people have dreams of flying. In fact, it is one of the most common dreams. and flying is a wonderful feeling of freedom. Being unrestrained by gravity, free of the world below you, and flying high over everyone. To help you fly, first I'm going to make your body heavy. It will make sense, don't worry. Just take a deep breath in and let it all out. Very good. See, your body already feels tired. It's nice to just relax for a little bit. Let's do that once more. Take a deep breath in, and then all the way out again. And your body is going to be heavier by the moment. Your arms and legs, your chest and hips, all becoming so wonderfully relaxed that they can sink into the surface you're laying on. Now, while your body is busy getting heavy, although it's not exactly doing much other than relaxing, I'm going to lift up your mind like the other end of a seesaw. The more heavy your body becomes, the more light your thoughts will feel. As your body becomes heavier with every exhale, your mind slowly lifts with every inhale. Thoughts themselves are weightless. Your body is heavy and affected by gravity, being pulled down more and more. They could fly so easily if you'd let them. Inspiration and creativity just floats around anywhere and everywhere. And your mind, as your thoughts begin to float, feeling higher and higher, will become more and more empty. Your body can drift, sink, just slowly going down, becoming so heavy that even lifting a single finger
Don't you wish that your weekend was longer than just 2 days? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, our weekend begins on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Our weekend kicks off every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with DarkWolf's Den, starring yours truly, Jerry the Dark Wolf. But that's where the fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back every Thursday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for the Rippin' Rabbit Hole Live Show, starring AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. He dives into the archives of vocal legend Art Bell and brings those stories up to date. So make sure that you spend your extended weekends with the animals of radio, Jerry the Dark Wolf and AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, every Wednesday.
Laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation, don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome to the DarkWolf's Den Show. It is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020, and tonight we have some interesting stuff to talk about. But first, today in history. On this day in 1933, aviator Wiley Post became the first person to make a solo flight around the world. 50 years later to the day, somebody made the same exact flight in a helicopter. And that was Today in History. But that's actually a really good segue into what we're going to be talking about tonight, which is futurism, of course. And what is futurism? It is the idea of what can happen in the future. What kind of predictions would be made about how things will be in, 20, 30, 50, 100 years. And we've had quite a bit of that over the years in the 1960s and 20s and 30s, and everybody was always talking about what the year 2000 would look like. For instance, in the 1920s and 30s, what did they think fashion would look like in the 2000s?
Some of the most famous fashion designers in the U.S. today have been asked to forecast what Eve will look like in AD 2000. One idea is a dress that can be adapted for morning, afternoon, or evening. It's the sleeves what does it. According to another artist, one dress of the future will consist of transparent net. The net probably to catch the males. Apparently in AD 2000 we shall be having a hair-raising time. Yet another designer goes so far as to believe that skirts will disappear entirely. Shoes will have cantilever heels, and an electric belt will adapt the body to climatic changes.
I gotta say, I'm not against that electric belt that adapts the body to climatic changes.
The lightly clad woman of tomorrow, ooh, swish, will move in an atmosphere that's scientifically kept at the right temperature. The future bride in a wedding dress of glass.
Yeah, you heard that right. A wedding dress of glass.
What the groom will wear, apart from a worried look, isn't mentioned. A dress of aluminium, with a sash to change it for afternoon or evening, and an electric headlight to help her to find an honest man.
I would dare say a car manufacturer designed that dress. It's made of aluminum and literally has a headlight bulb as a hairpiece. I'm telling you, that's different. I ain't never seen anybody wearing something like that today.
As for him, if he matters at all, there won't be any shaving, collars, ties, or pockets. He'll be fitted with a telephone, a radio, and containers for coins, keys, and candy for cuties.
And once again, we must remember this was back in the 1920s and early 30s, so it was a completely different culture and different mindset back then. But think about science fiction. That's where we get a lot of our ideas, right? How we think the future is going to look is from science fiction most of the time, like Star Trek. We're still trying to make the replicator and all these different neat technologies that we've seen and heard about, but what were the technologies that were expected for today's day and age?
But what about the city of the day after tomorrow? Say the year 2000.
And the voice you're hearing is the voice of science fiction author and inventor Arthur C. Clarke.
I think it will be completely different. In fact, it may not even exist at all. Oh, I'm not thinking of the atom bomb and the next Stone Age. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough which has been made possible by developments in communications, particularly the transistor and, above all, the communications satellite. These things will make possible a world in which we can be in instant contact with each other, wherever we may be, where we can contact our friends anywhere on Earth, even if we don't know their actual physical location.
Who is also quoted as saying, any sufficiently advanced technology would be no different than magic to those who did not understand it.
It will be possible in that age, perhaps only 50 years from now, for a man to conduct his business from Tahiti or Bali just as well as he could from London. In fact, if it proves worthwhile, almost any executive skill, any administrative skill, even any physical skill, could be made independent of distance. I am perfectly serious when I suggest that one day we may have brain surgeons in Edinburgh operating on patients in New Zealand.
And of course, that is today an actual reality. There is a robot type vehicle that you can, as a doctor, be in one part of the world and proxy through this robot and do your surgery on somebody all the way across the world. This is really a thing now.
When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point, and the traditional role of the city as a meeting place for man would have ceased to make any sense. In fact, men will no longer commute, they will communicate. They won't have to travel for business anymore, they'll only travel for pleasure.
And with the current affairs of the world today, we can't help but wonder if this is still where things are headed, where it will be all at-home work and very few people actually do transport to the job.
I only hope that when that day comes and when the city is abolished, the whole world isn't turned into one giant suburb.
And once again, that was science fiction writer and inventor Arthur C. Clarke, who had a pretty good grasp on the way things would be when we got towards the year 2000, as far as technology goes anyway. With the internet now predicted, how about social media? Did anybody in the past suggest that social media would be a thing?
Instantaneous world of electric informational media involves all of us, all at once. Ours is a brand new world of all-at-onceness.
Global Village is not created by the motor car or even by the airplane. It's created by instant electronic information movement. The Global Village is at once as wide as the planet and as small as a little town where everybody is maliciously engaged and poking his nose into everybody else's business.
That kind of reminds me of a program we have now. What's the name of it? Facebook, isn't it?
The Global Village is a world in which you don't necessarily have harmony. You have extreme concern with everybody else's business and much involvement in everybody else's life. It's a sort of Ann Landers column writ large. And it doesn't necessarily mean harmony and peace and quiet, but it does mean huge involvement in everybody else's affairs. And so the Global Village is as big as the planet and as small as the village post office.
And this is Marshall McLuhan back in 1967-ish, I want to say. And he was talking about what the world would look like if the World Wide Web, or the equivalent of what they would think of as the World Wide Web, was created. And there was a social media. Well, of course, they didn't call it social media back then, but that's exactly what they've described as social media of today's world. In 1966, a group of students were asked what they thought the world would be like in the year 2000.
Well, in the year 2000, I think I'll probably be the spaceship to the moon dictating two robots.
In the past, you're going to find as we go through this episode that a lot of people thought we would be out in space by now, like living on different planets, including our own moon.
Or else I may be, I don't know, in charge of a robot court, judging some robots.
And just like today, everybody back then was convinced that we would have robots, just like the Jetsons. You remember the cartoon, The Jetsons, the robot maid? Well, everybody was convinced that was really going to be a thing. And I got to say, I'm a little upset we didn't get that yet. But anyway.
Or I may be at the funeral of a computer. Or if something's gone wrong with their nuclear bombs, I may be sort of coming back from hunting in a cave.
And even still today, the fear of nuclear war destroying every and anything is still very, very real, as we all know.
Well, I think all these atomic bombs will be dropping around the place. And one will get near the centre, because it will sort of make a huge, great big crater. And then the world will just melt, and the world will become one vast atomic explosion. And it will become like a supernova, stars.
Some madman will get the atomic bomb and just blow the world into oblivion.
There's nothing you can do to stop it. The more people who get bombs, the more somebody's going to use it one day.
And once again, this is something that even today we are still dealing with, the idea of nuclear proliferation and what could happen if the wrong madman does get a hold of the wrong weapon.
I don't like the idea of sort of getting out and finding you've got a cabbage pill to eat for breakfast or something.
And of course, this little girl thought that all the food would be in capsule and pill form by now, which thank God it's not, but I don't understand why you would eat cabbage for breakfast. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd want the French toast pill, right?
Well, I think that it'll be so overpopulated that there'll all be wars, all nuclear explosions and everything. It'll make the Earth, too much radiation on it. It'll become too hot to live on. I think that there'll be no life at all, really, on the Earth.
And overpopulation is definitely something.
If I wasn't a biologist, that's what I'd like to do something about the population problem. Try and sort of temper it somehow. I don't know how.
This is one smart little dude right here. Remember, this is 1966 that these kids were asked this. Almost 40 years, a little over 30 years, before the year 2000. And he's right. Automation, amazingly enough, is becoming a thing. This is kind of interesting that a kid back in the 60s would think of this. But as wild as it may be, he did.
I think it'll be very dull. And people would all be squashed together so much there won't be any fun or anything. And people will be rationed to the amount of things they can have, because if they had too many things, it would just squash their houses, and there just wouldn't be room for them.
And thank God technology got smaller over the years, or she'd be exactly right.
I think it'll be people will be regarded more as statistics than as actual people.
I don't think it's going to be so nice. I think sort of all machines everywhere, everyone doing everything for you. You'll get all bored, and I don't think it'll be so nice.
I think it's going to be very boring. And everything will be the same. I mean, people will be the same, and things will be the same.
This one was clearly very far off the mark, as we've got a more diversified world now than we have ever had.
First of all, those computers are taking over now. Computers and automation. And in the year 2000, there just won't be enough jobs to go around, and the only jobs there will be for people with high HQ, high IQ, who can work computers and such things, and other people are just not going to have jobs. There just aren't going to be jobs for them to have.
And again, amazingly enough, this is still exactly what we are dealing with today, is the automation of computers really starting to become more and more proliferated in the workplace, and finding more and more of us that are without jobs. And we did find that also going into the computer revolution, even though people have been able to keep up pretty well, there are those that think their jobs got electronic or digitized and they just could not keep up. Matter of fact, some people, I remember, actually retired from the workforce as computers really started to enter into the main workforce because they just couldn't understand how to use them.
I expect they will set aside parts of the country solely for recreation and have large blocks of built-up areas. And I think these are going to be very ugly indeed, probably.
No, I don't think I'll still be on Earth. I think I'll be undersea. I think the population will have gone up so much that either everyone will be living in sort of big domes on the Sahara, or they'll be undersea.
I don't know about you, I sure wouldn't mind living in a biodome under the sea. That actually sounds pretty kind of friggin' cool to me. Watching the fish roll by all day instead of looking up at the sky, you look up and see the fish. I think that'd be really cool.
There'll be so many people that they'll have to have an overflow into the sea. And so there'll be houses underneath the sea and houses above the sea.
They're not going to have so many square houses, you know, more curves and artistic designs instead of just sort of boxes like they've got nowadays.
People wouldn't be able to live in ordinary houses because that would take up too much room. It'd have to be in flats, piled on top of one another, like that. And the houses would be rather small, and everything would be cramped up, very cramped.
Interestingly enough, if we look at places like California, this trend actually is becoming a real thing. And it only makes sense that as the population grows, the space that we have does not, and yet we would have to build smaller and smaller homes in order to accommodate every person on the planet. It's an interesting thought. Thank God we haven't gotten to that point just yet.
All the Sputniks and everything that are going up sort of interferes with the weather, and I think the sea may rise and will sort of cover some of England, and there'll be just islands left from like only the Highlands in Scotland and some of the big hills in England and Wales. I don't think all England will be wiped out because some of it will be too high. I think the sea will rise to about 300 to 600 feet.
Thank God that one hasn't happened yet, but we've heard all of our lives about the ice caps are going to melt and the oceans are going to rise and they're going to take over all the land. There's not going to be much land left yet. In our lifetime, we're yet to see it actually occur, thank goodness. So that was what the children thought of what was going on, or what would happen, I should say, in the year 2000. However, what did the experts have to say about it? What you're about to hear is from 1967. It's called The Futurist. It was a show hosted by Walter Cronkite where a lot of scientists got together and scientifically discussed the ideas of what it would be like in the year 2000. Now this is definitely very, very interesting. Check this out, guys.
Control, 20% probability. 0, 1, yes, here's the unlikely event that became true, and I just run through the others the same way.
This is not a crap game. It's a serious game at the University of Pittsburgh about the year 2001. Rolling the dice is Dr. Olaf Helmer of the RAND Corporation. With Theodore Gordon, he is conducting a simulation exercise. A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments, from personality-controlled drugs to household robots.
And though some may argue that we don't have household robots, I would argue we do. The things like the Roomba and different vacuum cleaners, small items that are becoming more and more robotic over time.
They have estimated the numerical probability of each, from 0 to 100%. The 20-sided dice are then rolled to simulate these probabilities, a use of random numbers known as the Monte Carlo technique, and often used in think tank games. All of this is highly speculative, but the game serves a useful function. It encourages talented people to think about the future, the current fascination of a new intellectual breed, the futurists.
And of course, this is back in the day of the old pen and paper simulation. We would run such simulations on the computer now. And futurists are actually a regular thing. This is something we're going to get into more in the second half about what the futurists of today say about the world of tomorrow.
So we wind up with a world which has the following features. We have fertility control, 100-year lifespan, controlled thermonuclear power, continued automation, genetic control, man-machine symbiosis, household robots, wideband communications, opinion control, and continued urbanization.
And obviously this is only one version of the simulated game. Depending on what numbers come up in any given roll would depend on what aspects come out at the end of the game.
A 71-year-old futurist who has been called the citizen of the 21st century, architect-engineer R. Buckminster Fuller.
We ourselves consist physically of atoms, and we know that all the atoms have their frequencies. It is theoretically possible to pick up all of our frequencies and actually send us by radio.
You mean we'll be able to transmit ourselves somewhere else?
Yes.
To be reconstituted in some distant place?
Yeah.
Teleportation, yet another sci-fi technology that we are yet to actually get to in this reality, but one that even today's futurists talk about is becoming much more likely.
If I were offered to spend a day in the year 2000 and see how things are then, I said see how things are to be, I would hate it. Because I don't want to know how things are to be. I want to exert action as long as I live so that the sort of things which should, in my opinion, be, have more chances of being. If they're all set, it doesn't interest me anymore to see the year 2000 than it interests me to see the year 1000. The merit of the future is that it is not set. The merit of the future is that it is the area in which we can exert our will, exert our efforts, and try to validate our values. That is the merit of the future.
And that actually gets into something that we talk about on this program quite a bit, and that is the idea of free will versus determinism. Is the future set in stone, or do we have the free will to change it at any given moment by our inventions and intention?
Some people talk about predicting the future as if the future was going to unfold itself independently of our own wishes and desires. Now, I think one can take it as one of the great lessons of modern science or modern technology, that anything that is in principle possible will be done if people want to do it enough.
In that statement right there, I agree with 110%. If anybody really wants, or if the general population really wants something to be done, and it's imaginable, it can be done. It just takes the will and ability and want to do it.
So when one asks what is going to happen in the 21st century, what one really wants to ask is, what do we want to happen in the 21st century?
And yet I doubt anybody could have predicted 2020.
I'm myself a physical inventor, a passionate inventor, and I'm very well aware that I'm one of the probably last generation of physical inventors. Of course, we still need inventions, but we don't need very much in terms of physics. Biological inventions we still need.
At this time, they thought they already had almost figured out everything about physics, even though we know today that that was nowhere near the truth of the story at the time.
Cancer is still something we must get rid of. But after that, what is important, the creative minority must put their mind on human happiness, on the study of psychology and of sociology. If it were up to me, I wouldn't let a single first-class talent go any more into physics or chemistry.
Where would you put them?
Into psychology.
If I can be perhaps overly large about it, I would say we're becoming an intellectual society.
And to this statement, I could almost halfway agree. Though I disagree that the most of the population is that intellectual, the ability to become intellectual and the knowledge base is absolutely there and available for anybody who is willing and wanting to actually take advantage of it.
Not that everybody's going to be an intellectual.
I'll agree he's right on that point.
This is a business civilization today. Most people not businessmen, but the basic values that society have been in terms of business, the basic rewards go to business. And I think in the same way, the basic institutions of the new society would be intellectual institutions.
I don't think we've quite made it to the intellectual institutions of society yet. Although we do have the internet, I wouldn't exactly call that an intellectual institution, more so just an available tool.
In that the scientists, engineers, mathematicians, economists will be the new men of the society.
So what do you guys think? Do you think we've more than ever embraced the intellectuals of our society and made them celebrated people? Even though, I gotta say I do celebrate people like Dr. Kaku myself and different intellectuals I enjoy, but as a society, do you think we celebrate intellectuals? Or equally, do you think we've turned around and started to fight against the intellectuals and kind of turn on the information? I don't know. What do you guys think? It seems like a 50-50 split to me.
I think it's true for one very important reason. It's not that we have more knowledge, which we do. There's a change in the character of the knowledge. This, I think, is the most important thing. And it's a change in the character of the knowledge in this respect that, by and large, the most important knowledge today is theoretical knowledge.
And again, I would say with the internet, we have definitely seen a change in the character of knowledge. It's not just owned by one corporation or one entity having a narrative anymore. We have the knowledge of everyone combined together. We have people putting in information that we wouldn't have had before in previous times.
This is where it seems to me the intellectual institutions, and particularly the university, becomes important.
And this, of course, being done in 1967, they had no real concept of the personal computer or how it would affect our lives on a very, very day-to-day basis.
Mr. Bell, most of us are inclined to think pretty much in the 21st century in terms of the gadgets we're going to have, the push-button life we're going to lead. Is that the way we ought to be looking at the next century?
Well, it's a very entrancing way of doing it, surely. But I'm not sure it really helps very much. I think so much of the discussions I've read about the future get concentrated on the new kinds of things that men will be able to do. It sort of feeds the kind of Batman or Superman kind of instincts some of us have, in terms of being omnipotent in this particular way. Now, 35 years ago, one of the things which entranced people completely was the idea of fractional horsepower. And if you read the technological journals, the idea was everybody's life is going to be transformed with fractional horsepower, small motors. Now, it's true to some extent they help, because with fractional horsepower, you begin to get electric carving knives, you begin to get electric toothbrushes, but I won't say that these have necessarily transformed our lives in a very meaningful way.
Although I would disagree with that particular statement, only because I like the electric toothbrush. I think that's changed a lot of people's lives and made them a lot lazier, honestly.
So I'm not sure that gadgetry is the best way of looking at the future. I would say, perhaps this reflects my own bent as a sociologist, to try to look at structural changes in society. Which is why I come back to things like changes in the pattern of occupation, changes in the sector distribution of an economy, changes in the character of knowledge as overall determinative of the kinds of jobs and lives people will have.
And over the years, we have seen a larger creation in the size and types of jobs that are available now. It's more of a technological world now as far as jobs go.
What do you think will be the major scientific breakthroughs in the next 34 years before the turn of the century?
Well, of course, there may be some fundamental breakthroughs in knowledge. Knowledge of the nature of the universe, resolving these problems as to the nature of the universe, whether it's an eternal, ever-expanding universe or an oscillating, expanding and contracting kind of a universe, things of tremendous philosophical interest.
A question to which we still do not quite fully have all the answers.
But perhaps of more remote practical importance. Another one of these would relate to the nature of matter. Here we've been groping towards an understanding of the nature of matter, and it looked very simple a generation ago. Now it's gotten terribly complicated with all of the many different little bits of matter that you can produce in an atom smasher. But obviously behind all of this there's some system, there's some pattern, and perhaps we'll get this. again, the practical applications of this are hard to foresee.
Quantum physics, of course, is become very, very large study now, and of course we have things like the quantum computer in today's world.
But there are also very practical things that I hope and think that we are going to do. We're going to make it practical to produce energy in a clean way and in great quantity, perhaps through harnessing the hydrogen bomb reaction, the fusion reaction.
Again, this is yet another thing that science is still working hard on to this day, to try to create nuclear fusion opposed to the nuclear fission that we use in today's societies.
These recent developments in producing batteries and fuel cells that can be used to store and make use of energy conjures up such a wonderful world, you know, of no automobile exhaust, no stack gases, you know. This really could be a brave new world of clean cities and clean highways.
Oops, I think we got that one just a little bit off. We're still working on that too, as you guys know. Because now climate change is a huge issue, right?
And this, it seems to me, is within reach.
By far the most important task of modern medicine is to extend throughout the whole world the kind of medical advantages and privileges which are enjoyed today in the United States and in the advanced Western countries generally. And this will have to happen. This isn't merely a medical problem. This is a tremendous problem of administration, a problem of politics as well. And needless to say, it would be pointless to achieve it unless it were accompanied by a population policy. Because one of the consequences of these advances in medicine, indeed it's not it's already happening, is the threat, which is now a reality, of overpopulation.
Since then, the population has definitely grown exponentially, and yet we don't see as many issues as they assumed that we would see by the time we got to this population number.
I have a phrase which I use in my lectures to my students, which is, freedom begins with breakfast. And you can have all the freedom in the world, but if you're not fed and you're not taken care of, if society is not taking care of your needs, then you're not free.
Such powerful wisdom and amazing words, even for today's world, especially for today's world.
The liberated slave dies in the ditch, of hunger, and therefore we've got to come to terms with what, in fact, are the basic requirements of this vast population we're going to have, and on that world scale of population, not just pockets of hunger, but really beginning to look at this problem as a potential catastrophe of mankind. The population explosion is just, to me, as serious as the atomic explosion.
The point on the food sources is very valid, and we've, of course, moved into more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not exactly organic sources, but more synthetic sources of foodstuffs, which has not been good for our bodies. Another interesting question is, what would the home of the future look like? This is from 1989.
What are going to be the biggest changes in our homes by 2020? Will the house of the future protect the environment? And what new technology do researchers think we'll be living with? Well, we've been talking to some of the people who've been thinking about the home of the future. Christine McNulty.
I started the Home of the Future project to find out what people will want from their homes. They'll want all the benefits of modern technology, but without all this cluttered and complex gadgetry that we have today. They'll want homes that work for them.
Now, remember, in 1989, a television was a floor model. It was a large, big, like industrial-sized, huge ordeal. A great big box on the floor. That was a TV. And then the telephone was still hooked to the wall. There was not really such thing as a mobile telephone in that time. So all these gadgets, and they were big. They weren't exactly small, compacted gadgets like we see today. Like I said, the television was a big box. The telephone was not much smaller. It was a big thing with a bunch of numbers on it. Everything was larger sized. They didn't have the compact stuff that they have today.
By 2020, all of this will be possible. We'll have things under control without all of these knobs and buttons. And what's more, the technology itself will be embedded in the very fabric of the house and its furnishings.
So the idea is, once all the clutter of technology has gone, you'll be able to furnish your rooms in any style you like. You won't actually be able to see the technology, but it will be there, doing its job without getting in your way.
And what it sounds like she's describing is what we would call a smart home. However, their idea of a smart home makes ours look kind of silly, to be honest with you. Just take a listen to this, guys. This is the house I want, honestly. Their imagination was better than what we came up with.
That means the lights automatically switch off and on as you walk between rooms.
I used to work in Train air conditioner factory, and in there they have the sensor lights where if you're not in an area after a certain amount of time, the lights literally just turn themselves off.
And the home learns how bright you like them. A simple command gives you music, perhaps piped in from a sound library. Bark, please.
So far they are pretty spot on, except for we say, hey Alexa, play Bach, instead of just yelling the name. And did you know that you can also get it to respond to computer? Yeah, for my Trekkie fans, you probably already know that, but for those that don't, Alexa will respond to the word computer, interestingly enough. Or at least she used to. I don't know if she does anymore.
And no more PowerPoints. Plugs become pads, picking up power from anywhere on the wall.
Now, that's a technology that I wish we did have. To be able to just hold my cell phone to the wall and pick up energy and recharge it just by holding it against the wall. Yeah, I think that's technology we need to come up with, guys. Anybody listening with an invention, ability, here you go. Here's an idea right here.
And even Windows will take an active part in the home, according to another researcher, David Button.
This is today's glass technology, whereby combining thin transparent coatings with ordinary conventional glass, we're able to change the performance of the glass. We can diffuse the glass for privacy, and with other coatings, we can control the glare and the solar radiation. In other words, we can vary the performance of the window.
This technology does exist today, though it's not as widespread through society in every construction and things like that, but it is becoming more and more prevalent.
So a simple command could turn a window into a wall, and you could decorate it how you want. Or it could be a television or a computer screen.
Gotta say, instead of windows, I would love the idea of a window as a computer screen. Can you imagine windows on a window?
Well, that may be a little futuristic or too expensive for most people.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But there's one area where homes are going to have to change.
And in what way would that be?
There will have been enormous pressure on us to cut down on our burning of fossil fuels to protect the environment. This means that energy management in our homes will become of critical.
There are already materials that can help. This honeycomb material is being used on the outside of a building in Strathclyde to heat it by trapping the energy and diffuse daylight as it hits the walls. And aerogel, this is aerogel here, is a form of glass with a similar structure at a microscopic level. It can do the same job, but it'll be thinner and transparent. And if these two things become widely used by 2020, the coatings could one day reduce heating bills almost to zero and help to cut down our use of fossil fuels.
And as we know, that's not quite the usage they ended up getting. Aerogel is a real thing, and it's used a lot in the aeronautics industry.
The other key is for the home to use more energy more intelligently. The heating system could learn your daily routine and only heat the rooms that you'll be using. The living room would be at just the right temperature as you come downstairs.
This one they actually kind of got spot on with the smart homes. You can set your temperature before you get home, or as you enter the room, it'll be a certain temperature.
The people who are already planning the home we'll be living in 30 years assure us that we can take as much or as little of this technology as we like. The crucial point is that there'll be no single home of the future, there'll be millions of different ones. We choose the type of home we want to live in. The technology takes a...
I gotta say, from 1989, they wasn't really way off with their predictions. But we are running a little late today, guys, as far as break goes. We went a little bit over, so we're going to go ahead and take a break right here, and we'll see you guys on the other side with some interesting information about what the futurists today say the world will look like in about 30 or 40 years. So stick around. We got Dr. Michio Kaku and legendary futurist Ray Kurzweil coming up after the break. We'll be right back. Don't you touch that dial. Ooh, yeah.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Sex in the City? Nope. Interview with a Vampire? Nope. If you build it, they will come? Febreze? Tweeze in the middle? Wrong again. Depends. Nope. Welcome to the Twilight Zone, my friends. A phenomenon known as the Mandela effect. You may have heard of it. You may want to not neglect. Unbecoming, awake, and spiritually inclined. So sit back, relax, while I blow your mind. Take the thumb off the cell, stop following the sheep. Down the rabbit hole we go. Are you ready for that leap? The Zapruder film, #JFK. I looked at the footage and I said, what the hey? How come there are 6 people in that dang car? Stretch limo, for me, this was all too bizarre. A glass behind the driver, no way, Jose. I remember in the car, my mind was in total disarray. Trying to make sense of what I was seeing, what I was witnessing. Didn't connect with my inner being. A second woman in the car for me was only the first lady. Do you smell what the rock is cooking? All this seemed kinda shady. Berenstein Bears. Nope. Shazam? Sinbad? Not in this reality. Good lord. An awakening. Was it all a revelation? The naysayers and skeptics call it confabulation. They say we misremembered and call us bat crazy. Did you smoke a doob? Maybe that's why it's a little bit hazy. Unless you experience it, you'll never know. But enough of that. On with this Mandela effect flow. Mandela effect in the house. What in the world happened to Ed McMahon? In this reality, Publishers Clearinghouse was not a fan. Never the spokesperson, but we remember it clear as day. McMahon holding that check while the winner yelled out, yay! American Family Publishers, never heard of them until now. This Mandela effect has me raising the people's eyebrow. So many theories on what it could be. Have you ever heard of CERN and the LHC? Luke, I am your father. Nope. Sally Fields? Nope, wrong again. That stands for the Large Hadron Collider. I thought I would mention. You know, the machine that opens up portals into different dimensions? You're probably thinking that this is all science fiction, but you gotta think outside the box and have no restrictions. Alternate realities and parallel dimensions. Okay, I get some of your apprehensions. Could this all be a spiritual evolution? Cause the human race has grown tired of this toxic pollution. Mandela effect in the house. No, you're not going crazy. Some people, they just don't understand. That's just the way it is. You know? Stay strong, my friends. That's just the way it is. Dolly has no braces? Are you serious? Good lord. Joel Osteen. Oh wait, Joel Osteen. So what the heck happened to the owl? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is definitely the Twilight Zone. This is crazy. Anyhow.
Are you a YouTube creator that's tired of fighting over copyright issues for using the wrong music in your videos? Or perhaps a songwriter looking for something new? I know when I started DarkWolf's Den, I needed some original music, and for me, the answer was a no-brainer. I immediately called Tom Baillies of Red Shed Studios. Tom has been in the music industry for over 20 years and has a true passion for the art. So if you need a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you contact Tom Baillies at Red Shed Studios at 920-344-7634. That's 920-344-7634. 844-7634. Red Shed Studios.
Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying the Dark Wolf's Den show tonight with Futurism? I know I am. If you've enjoyed the program so far, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. Here's a look at the weekend schedule ahead. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Thursday, July 23rd, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we dive through the rabbit hole of time travel. Art Bell's favorite subject, by the way. Mine, too. Put a 1 in the chat room if you like time travel as much as I do, because that's what we're going to get into tomorrow night. Then Friday, July 24th, join us for 1984 Thought Police. Did George Orwell predict the current age that we're living in? Perhaps. Is policing our thoughts becoming a reality? Will it be on the horizon soon? Tune in Friday night, July 24th, and we're going to find out. Then Saturday, July 25th, join me for Shadow Strawman. Have you met your shadow or been introduced to your straw man? This is a wild concept, a very deep rabbit hole. We're going to dive down July 25th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's Saturday night. Then we'll end out the weekend together, Sunday, July 26th, with the third eye. We look at people who have opened the third eye and look at ways that you can do it too. I'm going to tell you ways that have been successful for myself. I'll be talking about my own third eye experiences Sunday night, July 26th, 2020, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And believe it or not, the Mandela Monthly, first weekend of every month, Moneybag 73 and I take you down that journey together. And it is going to be Saturday, August 1st, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. We're going to deal with historic event Mandela effect changes. I'm ready to have my mind blown, that's for sure. I can't wait. I can't believe how fast time is going. It's a little bit spooky, if you ask me. As you know, the weekend is kicked off every Wednesday night here with the Jerry Hicks Dark Wolf's Den show. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, because all shows start at that time. We're going to return back now to Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den with as he howls, ahoo, at Futurism. Right here on the best of Common Sense Radio, therippinrabbithole.com.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den show. Tonight, of course, we are discussing futurism, and in the first half we discussed a lot about how the world of today was going to look according to futurists of the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. But what about today's world? Today's futurists? What are they saying about the things that are coming down the line for our world of tomorrow? We've got the internet. We've got so many more cool gadgets than even the past peoples would have ever dreamed of us having. Although they did dream of some stuff that we're yet to actually get yet, what kind of stuff is coming down the pipeline for our realities, at least according to the physics and futurists of today's world?
Now today I'm going to talk about the future, 20, 30, 40 years into the future. I've had the privilege to interview 300 of the world's top scientists.
Oh, I almost forgot to mention that this was actually recorded in 2009, so that was 11 years ago. We're already well on our way to some of the technologies that he will speak about coming up.
Now, I'm a physicist. We're the ones who invented the laser. We invented the transistor. We created the electronic computer. We created television, radio, microwaves, MRI.
Though if you go back and listen to our paranormal technology episode, the argument can easily be made that they did not invent some of these items, more so reverse engineered them from alien tech, but that's a whole nother episode.
First of all, how do we scientists know what's going to happen 10, 20 years in the future? How can we be so confident? Well, first of all, this is Moore's Law. On a log chart, you see that computer power doubles every 18 months. Now, what does that mean? This means that when you get a birthday card in the mail, you open it up, and there's a chip in it. And the chip sings, "Happy birthday to you." Well, that chip has more computer power than all the Allied forces of 1945. Hitler, Eisenhower, Churchill would have killed to get that chip. And what do you do with that chip? You throw it away in the garbage. Or look at this chart. You'll see that way back in the 1960s, NASA had almost no computer power. Your cell phone today, one cell phone today, has more computer power, according to this chart, than all of NASA when they put 2 men on the moon. This means that if cars obeyed Moore's Law, cars today would cost 10 cents. This means that when you park the car, you wouldn't even bother to put a quarter in the meter. The meter costs more than the car. So you wouldn't have to just park the car and walk away from it.
Sadly, cars do not follow Moore's Law, because it would be really, really cool to have a car for like a quarter a piece, right? But then again, what a waste of space in this world. You think we've got a recycling issue now? Unless, of course, we can have like the suitcase fold-up car like George Jetson had, where it just folds in your suitcase and you just carry it around with you. That might be worth it.
So what does this mean? This means that by 2020, computer chips will cost about a penny. That's the cost of scrap paper.
I think chips cost just a little bit more than a penny still here in 2020, but no one could have expected the craziness we would have had this year. And the cost of chips and manufacturing of electronics is about to go right through the roof.
So we now know the future of the computer. The future of the computer will be everywhere and nowhere, hidden in the walls, hidden in the fabric of our life, just like electricity is.
Which is exactly what they predicted in the 1989 Homes of 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Everywhere and nowhere. And this is the internet. We wrote the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web was written by a physicist to keep track of subatomic particles. And you can see here that the internet corresponds to prosperity. Where there is the internet, there's prosperity, there's commerce, science, finance. Where there's no internet, there's poverty.
And the argument can be made that it comes down to the amount of knowledge gained just by having the internet available, opposed to those that do not have the internet available and do not have that knowledge base to choose from.
So one thing that we physicists do is we create something and then we simply give it away for free. So how will you communicate with the internet in the future? These are glasses that have full internet capability. You can...
And if you go to the show notes over on ripinrabbithole.com, RIPONRABBITHOLE.com, go to the show notes over there for the Dark Wolf's Den show. We've got the pictures up of the glasses as well as a couple more technologies, so don't go too far ahead and spoil any surprises, but we've got a couple pictures up over there if you're interested. That is the show notes for tonight over on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
Download any website, any movie, do emails from these things, and they will also recognize people's faces. How many times have you bumped into somebody on the street and you say to yourself, who is this person? Jim, John, Jake, I know this person. In the future, your glasses will say, it's Jim, stupid, remember? You met him last week. Do you want to see his entire biography for you in your glasses?
Literally having the entire internet available to you at the blink of an eye.
And let's say you're at a cocktail party. You're looking for a job, and you don't know who the heavy hitters are. In the future, you will know exactly who to suck up to at any cocktail party.
The problem is, so will everyone else at that same cocktail party.
Well, let's say you don't want to look like a refugee from Star Trek. In the future, glasses will be fashionable with full internet capability.
And this would be the second picture available over in the show notes of tonight's show on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. It's got the two ladies in it wearing some type of eyewear that is actually pretty cool looking, to be honest with you.
They can be flashed directly into the retina of your eye. They can be flashed right onto the screen of your glasses, or used as like a jeweler's lens as an attachment to your glasses. Fashion models will be wearing these things. Young people will demand to have full internet capability, any video, any movie, any website, any music, downloaded via your glasses.
Although I do see a small problem with this still. With your vision blocked, or at least partially blocked, that could cause a issue, like walking down the street, you might miss the pothole that you're about to trip over, or, you know, some little thing that would be available to your visual spectrum had you not the internet literally in your stream of vision.
Now you may say to yourself, wait a minute, maybe I don't wear glasses. No problem. In the future, they'll be in your contact lenses. These are internet contact lenses that we physicists are trying to build. Imagine taking a final examination. Ha!
I gotta say, that's a pretty cool function right there. Now, as much as I've said against these things so far, the idea of having all the information there when you need it, like for a test, gotta say, not opposed to that. Yeah, it's cheating, but is it really?
Immediately the light bulbs begin to flash, right? Think of taking a final examination. You realize that in the future, professors are going to have to throw out their final exam because you can't simply record memorization on a final exam anymore. You'll have to convey concepts, principles, rather than memorizing the names of the crystals or the shapes of the minerals or whatever.
And I've always approved of more of a hands-on approach to learning opposed to a memorization of information and facts going along the way. But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
Imagine full internet capability in your glasses. Well, we physicists are working on this even as we speak. Imagine, for example, going to a foreign country. You bump into somebody and they start to talk to you in a foreign language. No problem. In the future, you will see subtitles. Subtitles of a foreign language in your contact lens.
Now, in all seriousness, the other job that I do a 40-hour a week on is in a hotel, and a lot of the housekeepers are of Spanish orientation, and it's really, really hard to communicate with some of these girls because they don't know very much English. So to have that capability at hand, a translator of some type, even if it's not in my contact lens, I think a translator that we can wear on ourselves somehow would actually be a very, very good thing to have in this world, because then you could literally understand anybody. That would definitely bring a lot more peace to the world, just in the fact that we could understand communications between each other a lot more easily.
And let's say you visit the ruins of Rome. It's such a big disappointment. You read about the great Roman Empire, and then you see all that's left, almost nothing left of the empire. You go to the Roman Forum, and you only use imagination, thinking of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony at the Roman Forum. No problem. Your contact lens will recreate the full animation of the height of the Roman Empire as you walk through the ruins.
So you could literally feel like you were walking through ancient Greece with the classic philosophers, or through the Roman Empire and through the different colosseums and amazing different buildings as they would have looked back in the time when they were brand new. And maybe even see Plato and Socrates as you're hanging around. That would be so awesome.
This is called augmented reality, not virtual reality. A mixture of reality with animation, with subtitles, with translations.
And if you guys don't know, augmented reality, not necessarily virtual reality like the doctor said, but augmented reality is becoming more and more of a standard thing being included on cell phones anymore, and different programs anymore that you can, like Pokemon Go, for instance, was a really big example of augmented reality, where you could see the reality around you as it would normally be, and it would throw an animated Pokemon in there for you to catch. That's a major example of augmented reality, and that's just one of the, it's a game. It's one of the very few applications that we could use for it, although there's many, many more, I'm sure.
Let's say you're driving a car. Your contact lens will give you exactly how fast you're moving, how much gas you have, and will even point out landmarks as you are driving. GPS, all of that, without ever having to leave the steering wheel of your car. So this is what happens with Moore's Law. That computer chips will cost a penny, like electricity. They'll be everywhere and nowhere. When you walk into a room today, what do? You look for the light switch, right? The first thing you do is you look for the light switch. You assume the walls have electricity, even though it's invisible. In the future, when you walk into the room, the first thing you will do is look for the internet portal. You will assume the room is intelligent. So this is your cell phone of the future. This is how you will communicate with others.
And once again, I have a link over in tonight's show notes on ripinrabbithole.com. But guys, once you see this, I don't think it's too big of a stretch to understand why this just did not take off as a product.
One screen for any video, one screen for any website, one screen for any movie that's ever been done. You'll access the entire database of the planet Earth almost for free. And let's say you have a BlackBerry. You know how tiny that BlackBerry's a typewriter is? Well, in the future, we'll have e-paper. You'll simply scroll out.
I gotta say, I really, really want this. If you look at, once again, in the show notes over there, and this will probably be one of the last pictures we have over there tonight, but the paper that looks like it's scrolled out from like a metal thing, and it's got a digital form on it. That I want that paper, not gonna lie. I really like that idea.
Scroll out paper, which is intelligent, and you'll type on that sheet of paper. So your cell phone is an entire PC. In fact, it has more power than a supercomputer of today. In fact, wallpaper will be so cheap that when you put up wallpaper, it'll be intelligent. Wallpaper will be as intelligent as your computer today.
Could you imagine that? Walking right up to the wall like in Star Trek and just having full interaction with the wall, as, like interacting with the internet or different smart objects in your house, the internet of everything. Wouldn't that be really neat, though? Just everything running through your wall. Just walk up to the wall and it does whatever you want. That's very, very Star Trek sci-fi-ish, if you ask me.
This is your living room of the future. This is how you will communicate with people. Let's say you're on a college campus, and let's say it's Friday night, and you do not have a date.
Yeah, that sounds like Friday night.
We all know what you do. You get stone drunk. In the future, you'll go up to the wall screen, and you'll say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's available tonight?" The wall screen will then contact all the other wall screens that are out there. The wall screen knows exactly the kind of person you like, physical characteristics, age, whatever, and hook you up to whoever else is looking at their magic mirror and saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
I know my Mandela-affected friends are going absolutely cuckoo right now, but wait, there's more.
Then you'll go out and have some fun, come back to your apartment, and then you want to see a movie. So you'll say to the wall screen,
"Tell us again, Doctor, what do you say to the wall screen? What are the magic words?"
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, we want to see Casablanca, except remove Humphrey Bogart's face and put my face instead. And remove Ingrid Bergman's face and put my date's face instead." Now, some people are a little bit afraid of this, but realize that when the internet was first created by we physicists, it was male, it was hierarchical, it was to dominate over the Soviet Union. Why did the Pentagon give us millions of dollars to create the internet? It wasn't so that you could email your friends. That's not why we physicists created the internet. It was created to dominate a nuclear war with Russia so we can communicate and rebuild America after New York City is in ruins, Los Angeles, Chicago are vaporized. That's how we're going to recreate America after World War III. Today, the internet is female. 51% of the users of the internet are women, and they use it to touch people. That's what it's all about. Technology looks frightening when you don't know it. But then you realize the whole purpose of the technology is to be female, to touch people, make contact with people. So the internet has flipped from being a war-fighting device to be a device that allows you to communicate to all your friends. That dog, for example, on the left, is a cyber dog. It doesn't really exist. It babysits your kids, runs, barks. That dog does everything except pee on your carpet.
And once again, the pictures can be found in tonight's show notes over on the rippinrabbithole.com.
Let's say it's Thanksgiving time and you're lonely because one son's in Australia, another one's in Russia, another one's on the South Pole. No problem. You'll all gather around your all wall screens. You'll put on your contact lenses, and you will see everybody around the dinner table as you carve up the turkey in cyberspace.
That would definitely be one of the least fattening Thanksgiving meals ever, a virtual turkey, right? I don't know how you would get full off of that. But you do have the camaraderie and being around the same people you would be able to be around at the time if they were able to be there with you. So even especially in today's world of contactless everything, I could see this becoming an emergent technology very, very quickly.
Also, we're putting chips everywhere. Chips are going into toys now. Toys are becoming intelligent. This is causing a problem for the English language. A contradiction in terms called smart Barbie dolls. Another contradiction in terms is Microsoft Works. That is also a contradiction in terms.
Or government intelligence, or, I didn't say that.
So again, any technology looks frightening when you first see it, and then you realize, hey, the whole purpose of this technology is to touch someone, to reach out and to touch people. This is your office of the future. Today, of course, your office is built around the PC, but why should that be? The PC of the future will disappear. The future of the computer is to disappear. Electricity has disappeared. We no longer see electricity. Intelligence will also disappear into the fabric of our lives. These are scrap computers. This is your office of the future. You'll scribble on a sheet that has full word processing capability, paint capability, and then you'll throw it away. And as you go from room to room, the files move with you. Your files are more important than the computer. The computer only costs a few pennies, after all.
Again, we haven't gotten to the point where the computer costs a few pennies, and I doubt we ever will get to that point, let's be honest. However, we are to the point of cloud storage, which sounds a lot like what he's explaining here. The idea of your files moving with you from room to room or across the world or wherever you may be, just because it's on the cloud and you can access it from literally absolutely any device.
In fact, when you go shopping, today you have a barcode whenever you buy something. In the future, instead of having a barcode, it'll have a chip. The chip will cost less than the barcode of the future. And so this is how you will move from office to car, car to home, home to office. The software follows you seamlessly everywhere you go. This is your cubicle of the future. This is how you will operate. And like I said before, if you don't like to be in a cubicle, you just talk to the wallpaper. The wallpaper is fully intelligent with a screen, what have you.
As funny as it may sound, I would want fish on mine. On one wall, of course, we would have to have the wolves howling all the time. But I would definitely like to feel like I'm inside or in the middle of an aquarium, have the fish swimming all around me. I think that would be really, really neat.
This is the car of the future. I had a chance to drive this car. This car has no driver. It is a driverless car. These cars have now driven hundreds of miles in the Mojave Desert without a driver. GPS is the secret to allow this car to drive. And for the Discovery Channel, they put me in the driver's seat. I started to drive the car, and then I went like this. Try to drive like this next time.
With your hands completely off of the steering wheel. He was talking earlier about how some technology seems quite scary. I gotta say, this technology seems very scary. And it's scary to me for the same reason that flying cars are scary to me. In West Virginia, when the car was first created, there were 2 of them in the entire state. And they crashed into each other.
This means that traffic accidents could disappear from the English language. Traffic jams, traffic accidents could disappear as the cars literally drive themselves.
Could you imagine, though, there would be no more driving tickets, right? You couldn't speed, you couldn't do any of that. I mean, that would actually save a lot of money as far as that goes, because they couldn't actually catch you for stuff you're doing now. They have no reason to pull you over. You're not breaking the law. The car is, if anything goes wrong. I didn't do it. The car did. Take it to jail.
And let's talk about health. Health is going to be turned upside down. First of all, when you go to the doctor, your doctor will be in your toilet. You'll go to the doctor 3 times a day. The doctor will analyze your body fluids, and it will tell you that you eat too much animal fat, too much salt, too much sugar in your diet. Isn't the future wonderful? Even your toilet will tell you that you have an unhealthy diet.
This one here, I gotta say, I am kind of 50-50 about. I'm not 100% sure how I really feel about this particular technology, because it could go either way, right? I see it as being quite intrusive as far as like knowing my bodily functions and how my entire DNA setup is and everything else, and who's owning that information. But at the same note, could there be a very good reason for some type of technology like this?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this could be the cure for cancer.
Wait, I'm sorry, Doc. What?
Because today, if you feel something in your breast, it's too late. It's really too late. You have 10 billion cancer cells growing inside your breast. Surgery is required almost immediately. In the future, when you go to the toilet, your toilet will analyze proteins emitted from cancer colonies of maybe 100 cancer cells, not 10 billion, but 100, and tell you, oh, by the way, you'll have breast cancer in 10 years. Well, watch out, but no rush. And there'll be chips scattered throughout your bathroom, which will analyze DNA. How do we know this? Because my friends are building these chips. They're called DNA chips. Chips that allow you to scan DNA within a matter of minutes.
Again, keep in mind that this was recorded in 2009. 11 years ago, they were working on these DNA chips.
So even as you're going to the bathroom, combing your hair, what have you, your bathroom is giving you a complete medical examination. And we now know that DNA is computer tape. Instead of zeros and ones, zeros and ones, zeros and ones, we have ATCG, ATCG. And we can read computer tape just like we read DNA. So how will we do it? Every time you blow in a glass, you leave DNA there. It will sample the DNA and scan for all your genes. I had my genome scanned. Most of my genes have been scanned, put on a CD-ROM, which I then showed to the camera. Realize that you will have this very soon. To have all your genes read today costs $50,000. Within a few years, it'll be down to $1,000. And perhaps in 10 years, it'll be maybe $100.
And that's pretty much exactly how much I paid to get my genome scanned, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I went through 23andMe and actually learned quite a bit.
This is your owner's manual. In your home, you have an owner's manual for your VCR, your iPod, your computer, your TV set. You have an owner's manual for everything except one thing, your body.
And I did not get an owner's manual or get my genome on a CD, and I don't know what company would offer such a service as that.
This will be your owner's manual. In fact, when they scanned my DNA, they even told me where my ancestors came from 20,000 years ago. So I now know my family lineage out to 20,000 years. So what will it be like to go to the doctor's office? We will not only scan your DNA. If we find something wrong with an organ, we will replace it and grow another one. This is an ear, except it's made out of plastic. Plastic sponge that dissolves with time. We take some cells from your ears, seed it into this ear, and it grows. It grows, leaving a perfect ear. Then the plastic dissolves with time because it is biodegradable.
And for those that don't know, they've actually grown human ears and other human parts on the backs of mice and other animals.
Here's bone on the left, ears on the right. Today, we can grow bone, blood, skin, cartilage. We can grow noses, ears, blood vessels, heart valves. The first bladder was grown 3 years ago. The first windpipe was grown just a few months ago. And we will grow the first liver perhaps in 5 more years. So for you alcoholics in the audience, there's hope. If you can hold on for 5 more years, you may be able to have your own liver.
And this gives hope for a lot of situations like paralysis victims and, people who are dying of different cancers in areas that would be fatal otherwise, but then now the organs can literally be regrown from the person's stem tissue nonetheless, so it isn't rejected by the body and can be re-put back into the body with little to no issue whatsoever. So this technology, I gotta say, it could create a line into immortality, or at least extending the human lifespan to a good degree.
So, as computer power doubles every 18 months, it means that every aspect of our life, finance, commerce, health, is going to be turned upside down as we begin to realize that computer power can enrich our lives. This is the world's first bladder, a human bladder that was grown from a young girl's own cells and implanted into that young woman. That was 3 years ago, a development at Wake Forest University where we taped changed history. And within 5 years, we hope to have the first pancreas, the first liver, perhaps even the first kidney. These are the frontier organs that are now being looked at to be grown in the laboratory. The first windpipe was grown just 3 months ago, and in mice, we actually grew an entire heart. An entire mouse heart was grown just last year. And how is it possible? Because computer power means that we can sequence genes, we can put doctors in touch with each other. It has accelerated medical advances.
Some of you may have heard of the really neat robot, if you will, that kind of runs around some of the hospitals, and a doctor can literally proxy in through this robot and do surgeries on someone from across the entire world.
And now, let me say a few things about artificial intelligence. Well, one day, will we have robots, the robots that we see in science fiction? Well, this is Asimo. Asimo is the world's most advanced robot. Asimo can run, Asimo can walk, climb up stairs, Asimo can dance. In fact, Asimo can dance better than me. I had a chance to meet Asimo, and the question is, how smart is our most advanced robot? And can these robots even have emotions so that we can bond with them?
And I guess that question would lie in the question of what is and where does consciousness lie, but that's a whole nother deep rabbit hole that we ain't got time to go into tonight.
The question is, how smart are our robots? Well, one day, will they be smarter than us and put us in zoos? Well, first of all, here's the governor of California in a very bad mood. So, well, one day, will we have to deal with mad governors? Well, let's take a look at Asimo. You saw Asimo, it's the world's most advanced robot. How smart is Asimo? Well, let me tell you. Asimo is as smart as a cockroach, a retarded cockroach, a stupid, lobotomized, retarded cockroach. Asimo takes about 6 hours to walk across the room. Every movement pre-programmed. That scene that you saw took 3 hours. It took 3 hours for us to program every single move of that robot.
And just to reiterate one more time, this was back in 2009, and I, for a long time, said that this was as smart as AI was, but turns out I was quite wrong, as I recently ran across a professor in Louisville who has created at least 3 human-level intelligence AIs. So it looks like the AI has actually gotten a lot smarter for robots since then.
So why is Japan spending so much time on these robots? Well, let me tell you a secret. Japan's population is the fastest aging population on Earth. They have very few young people. They have a lot of old people. These are future robot nurses. That's why Japan is spending so much money building robots. That's the future of nursing, not the future of human intelligence. However, in the coming decades, as robots get smarter, perhaps they'll be as smart as a mouse, eventually as smart as a dog or a cat. And then decades after that, maybe as smart as a monkey. At that point, I think we should put a chip in their brain to shut them off if they start to get murderous thoughts. But that's not for a while. That's decades into the future. We'll have plenty of warning.
And like I said a moment ago, I know of a professor in Louisville who claims to have created at least 3 human-level intelligences. I say claims to because I attempted to reach out to him, and he has declined a conversation at this time.
Plenty of warning. And in fact, for the Science Channel special that I'm hosting on December 1st, we went to all the world's leading artificial intelligence laboratory. And you can see how primitive our robots really are. Well, let's say a few more things that we discuss in the Science Channel documentary. Invisibility. Believe it or not, we physicists believe that invisibility is possible.
Now, I gotta say, invisibility is one future technology that I am totally not against at all. As a matter of fact, as a superpower, that would be one of the superpowers I would want, would be to be invisible. Because you could be anywhere and any time and nobody would know at all. I really think that would be a really awesome superpower to have. But how about in reality? Do you think it could become a reality?
We flew down to Duke University, and we filmed the world's first microwave invisibility device. It'll make an object invisible to microwaves, and we went to Berkeley, where they can actually now do it for visible light. Now, there is a problem. If you are inside an invisibility cloak, you cannot see outside. It's only a one-way trip. Therefore, if you are inside the invisibility cloak, you need to punch 2 eyeballs so you can see outside. So from the outside, you see 2 floating eyeballs, or here, a floating head. So remember that metamaterials allows us to bend microwave radiations around an object, just like water flows around a boulder. If you were downstream from a boulder, you don't know that there is a boulder upstream. That works for microwaves, and at Berkeley and Caltech, on a microscopic scale, they showed that it works for visible light as well.
Since then, this technology has definitely been scaled up for military application, that I do know.
So this means that in the coming years, coming decades, we may be able to attain full invisibility, just like you see in the movies, but we don't have it yet.
And if you guys go over to the ripinrabbithole.com, our fellow network host AJ the Rippin' Rabbit did a show not too long ago about invisibility and where we're at with the invisibility technology as of recent.
Also, teleportation. Wouldn't it be great to simply zap yourself across the room, just like they do in Star Trek? Well, this is called quantum teleportation. And for the Science Channel TV series, we went down to Maryland, to the University of Maryland, where we actually photographed, with a TV camera, actually photographed an atom being zapped across the room. A TV screen lit up every time an atom was teleported from one chamber to the next chamber. Now, this, of course, creates problems, because if you're Captain Kirk,
I would love the idea of having a teleporter, but after what you're about to hear right now, I gotta say, I'm not 100% sure I like the idea much anymore.
You have to die.
Wait, come again, Doc?
You have to dissolve in the process of creating a copy of Captain Kirk over there. So who is that imposter over there? That imposter over there looks like Captain Kirk. He sells Priceline just like Captain Kirk, okay? So who is that person over there? You just saw him die. And there he is selling Priceline over there. It really makes you wonder, who are we? Are we just information? That information can be zapped from one place to another?
And that would get into such a deep philosophical discussion that we wouldn't have enough time on the network if we tried to. So we're not going to get into that. But the idea of the teleportation and that you could die, or maybe you could just transport because maybe we all are information, but I don't think so. I think we are a consciousness, we are a soul, and the body dying would end that contract. But that's just me. That's a really, really hard one to wrap my head around, because like I said, I'm excited about teleportation technology, but to hear it like that, I don't know. But what about even more woo-woo type science? What other kind of magic does our future possibly hold?
And believe it or not, telepathy is coming faster than you think. We taped this again for the Science Channel special, 12 episodes, 30 minutes apiece, starting December 1st. Here's how it works. This is Brown University, where we have a stroke victim on the lower right. He is paralyzed. He cannot move. He cannot communicate with his loved ones. He is a quadriplegic, a stroke victim. On the upper left is a chip. They put the chip in his brain, shown on the lower left. You can see the dot where the chip is placed.
And I know most people, myself included without question, are against the idea of having a chip in your brain, and I don't blame them whatsoever. But if it could help a paraplegic or a quadriplegic or somebody who wouldn't be able to see or hear or stand, or if it could change how somebody's physicality actually worked, if it could improve the quality of life, would it be a good thing? And of course we know about the Neuralink from Elon Musk that we've heard about over the last who knows how many years, and how he wants to tap that into AI. But again, this is how it's going to roll into society, as a medical breakthrough, as ways to help those that otherwise would not be helped. And it comes into question, is it a good thing? I mean, it is in that aspect, right? Right?
You hook up that chip to a laptop. That person who is now totally paralyzed can now read emails, surf the web, answer emails, do crossword puzzles, do everything you can do on a computer, except this person happens to be paralyzed. This means that in the future, you may want to simply communicate with the web by thinking about it. We can also use this technology, by the way. This is how it works, by the way. He's allowed to see the laptop. You see the connection on the right. An electrode that connects to a laptop computer, the world's first direct link between the human mind and a computer. And also in Japan, they have very tediously mapped images of the brain onto an MRI scan and had a computer recognize them. We can actually see the outlines now, the decoded outlines of an object that you are looking at with your eyeballs. This means that when you are asleep and are dreaming, we may be able to photograph some of the dreams that you have.
I'm not sure I would want some of my dreams photographed, just saying. But seriously, for those who keep a dream journal or things like that, or the study of ESP and dreams, I think this would actually be a very, very astounding technology.
This has already been done at Kyoto University, not with dreams, but with the person looking at an object. A computer decodes the images on an MRI scan. We can now recognize, the first thing that was done was a horseshoe. You can actually see the horseshoe, the person's horseshoe that he's looking at via an MRI scan. But in the article, it says that the next target is dreams. Maybe one day we'll be able to record your dreams. This is how it looks like. You have to put this thing on top of your head, but in the future, it may be invisible. It may be painless and invisible, and you'll be able to surf the web all by yourself. Also, we should also point out that we can actually use this for a lie detector test.
Could you imagine going to get a lie detector test and they just plug something into your head instead of wrapping it all around your arms and whatnot?
When you tell a lie, your brain scan lights up like a Christmas tree. That's because first, you have to know the truth. Second, you have to create the lie. Third, you have to create the cover-up of the lie. And fourth, you have to analyze the consistency of the cover-up with all the other lies you've been telling all these years. That's a lot of brain power. And you can actually see that on an MRI scan.
It would definitely make for a lot more honest society, wouldn't it? Especially if it would show on the outside every time you lied. That would not be a good thing for some people that I know. But what about other futurists? We just heard from Dr. Michio Kaku about a lot of technologies that they're working on and we're working on in 2009, and some of them have come to light. Some of them still need some work. Of course, we haven't got penny computers yet. But what about Ray Kurzweil? He is a well-known, legendary futurist, and he's got some also incredible ideas about where things may be headed. We're going to finish out tonight listening to a couple of ideas from Mr. Ray Kurzweil, ladies and gentlemen.
First of all, I bought this yesterday.
Okay.
With
Thanks.
my debit card.
Thank you very much.
Present. In the year 2099, December 31st, when I walk into a store, hopefully, how will I pay for that?
Less than 100 years from now, what will our debit and payment system actually look like?
Well, I think you'll be walking into a virtual store, and most products will be virtual, even food and clothing and everything we need will be virtual. The era of three-dimensional printing is already coming, and we'll be able to download a design for clothing and then print it out, and there'll be open source forms of information, so open source clothing that you can download and then print out with three-dimensional printers at a few pennies per pound. So well before 2099, just about all the physical things we need will be information files. So already I can email you a book or a movie or a sound recording, and I can actually email you today a violin or a guitar, and you can print it out in a three-dimensional printer.
And of course, as the technology increases, the price of 3D printing will consistently drop, and the ability of having different materials to use will increase also.
There's a band that has all three-dimensional 3D printed instruments.
Yep.
Pretty soon, all the physical things we need, certainly by the 2020s, will be information files. And you'll pay for these with online forms of purchasing, and you'll be able to buy them on online stores. I mean, already online shopping, even for things that we don't print out, is ubiquitous.
I gotta say, in a world where I gotta wait a week or two to get everything I order from Amazon, I wouldn't mind being able to print it out immediately right there and have it for immediate use.
And that's growing very rapidly, and physical retail is coming down. Yep. People still like to go in to feel the clothing and try it on themselves, but we'll be able to take a three-dimensional scan of our bodies and actually see in 3D an avatar of ourselves and see how the clothes looks.
Now that is really, really cool. A very detailed scan of the entire body, and then once you print something out, it would be to your very, very specific and unique dimensions.
And we won't be limited to just the things on the rack and, oh, I love this shirt, it's not available in my size. You'll be able to design, see the clothing on your avatar, then actually have it printed out in not only the right size, but in the exact shape for your body.
So, talk about a perfect fit every single time.
What about the very real pleasure that I personally get from champagne? Will that be gone?
Well, virtual reality is another emerging technology. So already we can do what we're doing now in terms of being together, and there's technologies rather than just sort of having images on the screen like with Google Hangout. I can actually sit and look around you and feel like I'm together. There are primitive forms where we can touch each other.
And some of this technology already exists called haptic feedback. And some clothes, I think it would be really neat. And I think there are some bodysuits that are made like this. But bodysuits that would be made that would have sensors and haptic feedback where one person's actions you could feel upon your body without any actual physical confrontation. Again, in today's non-contactless world, I could see this technology becoming a more pushed and emergent technology due to the, quote, necessity, end quote, as it would be claimed is needed.
Once virtual reality goes inside our brains, and that'll be here by the late 2020s, and basically, I mean, my brain doesn't directly feel things, there's signals going into my brain. We can actually trap those signals and actually send into the brain signals representing a virtual environment. And so the computer will actually create the environment, and then we can be virtual actors in a virtual environment and do any of the things we do in real reality, like be together, hug each other, whatever, in a virtual environment.
And I could also see this working well with the augmented reality like Dr. Kaku was speaking of earlier, but this is more of on a virtual world scale, I guess. Also, it reminds me a lot of that movie Ready Player One, where everybody kind of lived and worked and played in a virtual reality.
We can eat in a virtual environment and have that sensual experience because our brain is receiving these signals as if they were coming from the real world, but it's actually the virtual world. You'll have a body in the virtual world, but it doesn't have to be the same as your physical body. So if you go into something like Second Life today, already people have avatars representing them, and they can look different. Now the avatars over here, although psychological experiments show that people actually identify with that avatar, but in the future it'll actually be like this is my body and like I'm looking, but I'll actually have a different body.
So in my virtual reality world, I could literally have my dark wolf body, a full wolf human style body if I wanted to.
A couple could become each other, for example, and experience their relationship from the other's perspective. But
now this right here I think would be an extremely important technology, only because you always talk about you don't understand someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. Well, now you would literally be able to walk a life in their reality and be in their shoes.
You'll be able to do the things like eating that you do in real reality and have that sensual experience in a virtual environment.
If we move a bit closer to the present time, I'd like you to, you've said that when the timing is right, timing is vital for technology. And in that light, I would like to hear your viewpoint on emerging payment systems such as Bitcoin that changes the paradigm of who's controlling what.
And if there's one thing that I can guarantee you will change as the future changes, that is the financial system.
Well, Bitcoin is interesting because it's not just a payment system, it's a whole currency. But I mean, everything is going virtual, and already we pay for most things, even just using credit cards, or, PayPal and so on. We pay for things online. That's going to increase over time. Our cell phones will be able to pay for things. So we won't need to handle currency or even carry physical devices around. We'll be able to pay for things virtually. The nature of currency is interesting. I mean, what is currency? It's an agreement of...
And personally, before he gets into talking about currency and different things about it, I would like to say I don't think we're going to be staying a cash society or a money society as we've known it for very much longer. I think we are literally headed to the credits society like Star Trek. Not social crediting, don't get me wrong. I mean literally credits instead of dollars.
It's basically a big agreement system among people that everybody respects. Even, say, terrorists who have very different views of society than the mainstream society, everybody respects money. It's this big system of agreements that we have. And that will, and it's already been broken away from some kind of physical entity like gold. It's already a very kind of theoretical concept. But certainly payment is already going online.
But what we're seeing is something being decentralized, as opposed to you have like the Federal Reserve or our national bank that sort of runs the show and guarantees the value of this currency.
Well, you brought up a good term, decentralization. That's the nature of the future. The 21st century technologies are decentralized rather than centralized. So the internet is decentralized. Some piece of it goes down, the information just goes around it. There's an inherent stability to decentralized technology.
I personally am all for decentralization of technology, and I think this is definitely the way of the future.
There's new water technologies where right locally you can create very clean water at very low cost. Dean Kamen's slingshot machine costs $2,000, can meet the water needs of 100 people. They're already putting it in third world countries. Coca-Cola has gotten behind that. Can take any kind of water, swamp water or salt water, and create drinkable water at very low cost. Decentralized energy is coming. Solar power is doubling every 2 years. It's already over 1% of our energy. People say, 1%, it's kind of a fringe player. They're ignoring the exponential growth. 1% is only 7 doublings from 100%, and it's doubling every 2 years.
I am also all for clean, green technologies like solar power, windmills, although windmills present a large amount of challenges that are unforeseen in the beginning, but still, these greener, less fossil fuel technologies, I gotta say, I am all for those coming into realities.
And then, so I presented this to the Prime Minister of Israel recently, and he was actually in my class in the 1970s at the MIT Sloan School, and he said, Ray, do we have enough sunlight to do this with? And I said, yes, we have 10,000 times more than we need. So we're actually awash in energy, we're awash in water, they're just not in usable form, but the technologies to make them usable are growing exponentially. 20 years from now, we'll get all of our energy from very low-cost renewable sources, and they'll be decentralized. Water will be decentralized. Food will be created in decentralized vertical agriculture, automated facilities.
So all these really big global politics on energy and fossil fuels and how we will drive our cars, is everybody running in the wrong direction? Will technology solve these problems?
Well, I don't think they're running in the wrong direction, but I think a lot of the concerns that, we're running out of energy and so on are wrong, because they're ignoring the emerging decentralized solutions that ultimately be very low cost, and they're based on information technologies. Solar power is being promoted by nanotechnology, which is a form of information technology, and the costs are coming down dramatically, and the amount is going up exponentially. It's really these exponentially growing decentralized technologies that will solve the major challenges of humanity.
And I gotta say, with all the propaganda that we hear nowadays about climate change and the environment and how everything's so bad, it's really refreshing to hear somebody like that talk about the emergent technologies that are actually good for the environment and good for humanity and good for everything around us.
So with regards to your job at Google, and congratulations on that. So what is it like? What do you do there?
Well, I was actually presented my latest book to Larry Page, How to Create a Mind. We met in July. He had read an early version, a pre-publication version. He really liked it. And he invited me to join Google to basically apply those ideas to creating, artificial intelligence to really guide the future of Google. The goal is to increasingly base search and question answering on the actual meaning of documents and not just finding keywords. If you write a blog post, you've got some content to share. You're not just creating an interesting bag of words. We would like to actually understand and model the semantic meaning of your blog post and all the other billions of pages on the web and all the billions of book pages, and so that you can actually talk things over with your search engine, and we'll really understand at a deep level what you're looking for, and we'll understand all the information that's out there and find information not just based on keywords.
I gotta say, if I found a search engine that I could actually would comprehend what I'm saying and would actually pull up stuff I'm looking for, and like he said, not just a random bag of words, I might actually be more intrigued by that and more willing to use something like that. I can't count the times I've gotten frustrated because after 3 or 4 pages, it just starts throwing random junk at me. So yeah, a comprehensive, intelligent search engine, I gotta say, I'm not 100% opposed to that.
A lot of people at the moment seem concerned about privacy, and you have this, people I think see them as the sort of evil machines that knows everything about me, and especially the company that you work for knows tons about me and privacy. How will that develop? Will I just have to say, okay, when I'm not in a Swedish forest and totally not connected, it's goodbye privacy, or?
Well, not at all. I mean, there's tremendous effort at Google to maintaining privacy. There's literally thousands of engineers to keep information private. And it's not just to keep it private within Google, but to prevent outside forces coming in and accessing that information. And that's a complicated technical problem, but information at Google is actually very secure. And the goal is to bring each person valuable services so that you can find the information that you need. You can find the pizza place, you can get help with your reservations, and your car can drive itself. And we want to deliver real services. It's not the intention to invade privacy. It's actually a very great trust. 500 million people use Gmail, and so Google takes that very seriously and wants to provide services that you want without using the information for anything else. And
I am not entirely sure how much I agree with that particular statement myself.
So I'm not the expert on explaining the privacy policies, but that is the goal, is to provide valuable services and to maintain the security of this information.
Going back to the champagne, could you try and be very specific and how will I pay for it? What will be the currency? What's the method?
I think currencies are evolving. I mean, there's a particular algorithm behind Bitcoin, and whether that really holds up or not is unclear. But I think we will have decentralized forms of currency. Bitcoin is an attempt to create a decentralized currency that's not controlled by countries. I think we'll have emerging currencies like that. We already have, there's thousands of different stocks you can buy. That's a form of currency, and those are decentralized. And so it's hard to predict what will catch on, but I think it will be decentralized. And artificial intelligence will note that you bought a product and will adjust accounts accordingly. There's going to be a lot of open source information. Three-dimensional printing will print out the things we need. And so take clothing. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of really cool designs you can download for free, print out for pennies per pound on your three-dimensional printer. I can email you, here's this great new shirt, and I can email it to you and you can print it out. People will still spend money for proprietary forms. We see that already in music and movies and books. There's millions of those free products that you can have a very good time with, but people still spend money for their latest blockbuster or for Harry Potter or for music from their favorite artist. You have a coexistence of open source and proprietary forms of information, and that will be true in every industry.
So tonight, guys, we have heard predictions from the past of the way today would look and the technologies and the things that would be going on in today's world and society. And we've heard from futurists of today about tomorrow and the world tomorrow and that we will be living in, again, with technologies and newer societies. But let me ask you, what do you think the future holds? Because remember, as we heard in the first part, and I agree with what the guy said, I don't remember the man's name, but the guy we heard in the first part said that he would hate to be in the year 2000 because he would know the technologies already. He wanted to be the one to create the technologies. And guys, that's exactly what we are going to do, and that's what we have to do for them to become available, is we have to create them. We have to put our energies, our emotions, our intentions into wanting to change reality, to change the world for the better. As long as we're fussing and fighting with each other, we're not moving forward into the future that could be the most amazing ever. And we've always got a crossroads. At all times we are at a crossroads. We have dystopian future or of a glorious grand future. And the only ones that can make that decision, the only ones that can choose where the future leads, is you. Every last one of you. The stuff you work on, the things you're interested in, the projects you do, your hobbies. Something you do may very well change the world, or you may make a breakthrough, or even just doing what you're doing changes the world. Even being nicer, how you treat people. Everything we do, guys, increases and intentions the future. We don't know what's coming no more than I know what the next 5 minutes will bring, but we do know that if we work together and we create things that we want, and we can literally create the reality that we want to see. To quote my friend Moneybags over there, to create the reality that we all would like to live in. And we can work together as a team, as a group, as a society, as a country, and as a partnership across the entire world, and work together to make and increase this society and the technologies and create the future that we really want to see. Because in the end, we are all responsible for the future that we create. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody being here. Don't you forget, though, the den may be closing, but the weekend fun is only just begun. Coming up Thursday through Sunday, we got AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. This week, I happen to have been eavesdropping on those rabbits over there again, and I've got some news for you guys. Check it out. His topics coming up this week are going to be, I can't wait, guys, Thursday night, my favorite topic ever. It was one of the first topics we did on this show, and it's a topic that I will always, always, always have a very deep love for, and that is time traveling. That's right. The rabbit's gonna get into the rabbit hole of time traveling. I cannot wait for that show. I'm sure that is going to be amazing. Then Friday night, he's going to discuss 1984 thought police. Is that the reality that we're living in now? Could we change that in the future? Are we headed for a 1984 thought police state? Are we in one now? More will be found out by Mr. AJ the Rippin' Rabbit on Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Saturday night, he's going to talk about Shadow Strawman. And Sunday night, another really one of my personal favorite topics, your third eye. That's right. How does your third eye work? And are you able to have abilities in the third eye that you may not be aware of? I cannot wait for that show and more, ladies and gentlemen. Every show on the network starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and we will be here every weekend. As you know, we kick off every weekend with this show every Wednesday night. We're so proud to kick the weekend off here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, speaking of Rippin' Common Sense, go on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. Over there, we've got a lot of really, really fun stuff. We've got news articles, of course. We want to keep you up to date at all times of all things going on. But you really want to get into the fun stuff, go on over and click on the rabbit holes. That's right. These are our groups over there. We've got the Dark Wolf's Den Show group. We've got Lucid Dreaming run by Juanito 1975. We've got a lot of other really awesome groups over there. We've got something you might enjoy no matter what you might enjoy. So go ahead and check those out. If you want to send us a shout out like you heard Propagate shout at the beginning of every episode, guys, hit that big red button at the very, very, very bottom of every single page on the rippinrabbithole.com. You hit that red button, you're going to send us 30 seconds of audio that you record. It will automatically ship it back to us, and we will gladly put it on the air. That's right. Guys, I'm going to go over... And you want to hang out with me, it's really easy. I'm going to go over to my favorite hangout, the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a really, really fun group of people internationally. Then we love to hang out and have discussions, because the discussion might end here for you guys, but for the Rippin' Rabbits, it is only just beginning. That's right. Go over and click on the Backstage 24/7 Lounge link on the rippinrabbithole.com. If you scroll down about halfway down the page, you're going to see a thing that says VIP entrance. Go on and click the Enter Now button. You will have to okay your microphone and camera, but you can turn those off the moment that you get in the room, and you will be able to use text chat only if that is what you choose. And like I say every week, I do have some friends that do just that every night, and we have some amazing conversations just the same. So please come on over there and hang out with us. We would love to have every last one of you guys. We love having these conversations and carrying them on and really discussing everyone's opinions and ideas individually. So if you want to hang out with the Wolf guys, it's really easy. Like I said, come on over there. We would love to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. On behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and everybody at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, we thank you. And remember, always stay awake, but dare to dream. Oh, yeah. That's right.
That weekend has begun. Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. Top hats off to Jerry for kicking off another fantastic weekend here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry will return next Wednesday night. If you haven't done so already, make sure you visit him at his channel on YouTube as well. Here's a look at the weekend schedule ahead. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Thursday, July 23rd, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we dive through the rabbit hole of time travel. Art Bell's favorite subject, by the way. Mine, too. I'm excited to explore all the possibilities of the world that we live in with you. Then Friday, July 24th, join us for 1984 Thought Police. Did George Orwell predict the current age that we're living in? Perhaps. Is policing our thoughts becoming a reality? Will it be on the horizon soon? Tune in Friday night, July 24th, and we're going to find out. Then Saturday, July 25th, join me for Shadow Strawman. Have you met your shadow or been introduced to your straw man? This is a wild concept, a very deep rabbit hole. We're going to dive down July 25th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's Saturday night. Then we'll end out the weekend together, Sunday, July 26th, with the third eye. We look at people who have opened the third eye and look at ways that you can do it too. I'm going to tell you ways that have been successful for myself. I'll be talking about my own third eye experiences Sunday night, July 26th, 2020. Starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And believe it or not, the Mandela Monthly, first weekend of every month, Moneybag 73 and I take you down that journey together. And it is going to be Saturday, August 1st, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. We're going to deal with historic event Mandela effect changes. I'm ready to have my mind blowing, that's for sure. I can't wait. I can't believe how fast time is going. It's a little bit spooky, if you ask me. As you know, the weekend is kicked off every Wednesday night here with the Jerry Hicks Dark Wolf's Den Show. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, because all shows start at that time. And we're live every Wednesday through Sunday nights, giving you an opportunity to interact with us on the very best of common sense radio, the rippinrabbithole.com. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. This is probably and I'll never find you here. 'Cause no one's ever what a widow, a crystal spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner? Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Don't you wish that your weekend was longer than just 2 days? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, our weekend begins on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Our weekend kicks off every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with DarkWolf's Den, starring yours truly, Jerry the Dark Wolf. But that's where the fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back every Thursday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show, starring AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. He dives into the archives of vocal legend Art Bell and brings those stories up to date. So make sure that you spend your extended weekends with the animals of radio, Jerry the Dark Wolf and AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, every Wednesday through Sunday, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt sign.
Let's do it. Hi there, I'm AJ, host of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. Our weekend kicks off Wednesdays with
DarkWolf's Den.
Then we push through the weekend Thursday night, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and return again every Friday night at the same time. The weekend heads on into Saturday, and we end the weekend together Sunday nights. You'll want to join us the first weekend of every month as we dive down the rabbit hole of Mandela Effect with co-host Moneybag73 and our Mandela Monthly. So journey along with us as we dive through the rabbit holes together in the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live shows. You can see our weekly schedule at the link listed in the description below. Thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live.